the Powerball down here is like $455 million, right? So I go out tonight, I buy a ticket, I win tomorrow or Saturday or whenever the thing is. Then I say, hey, Katie, what do you want to do? What is it you would do? You know, if
Right.
Fat Cat Moneybags Matt Ho comes rolling in and says, hey, you know, Katie Halper, here's a blank check. What kind of media empire would you like to build?
Well, I would like to do that show, The View, The Lefty View. And then I would probably like to have a full-time staff, research and writing staff, so
Right.
I could do a daily show that had, or at least weekly with monologues. But I guess I can do that. I just have to get my stuff together to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, again, it comes back from me about like, how much do we really need to do this, you know, in a sense of you know, to build the infrastructure for it. Do we need to recreate Air America, you know, or do we need to recreate what was the one that only lasted for a couple of years? I'm not sure how politically independent it was, but the Black News Channel, you know, right? I mean, there's been various iterations of an attempt to get some type of independent media
Right.
that I think maybe they become too top heavy.
I mean, I
And
think another problem that we have to figure out how to deal with is that there's so much division on the left. So the right is much better at both. It's funny, the right is better at two things. They're better at being bolder and farther from the center. Now that's also because they have the funding that we don't have on the left,
right.
but they also kind of get in line. And there's so much division on the left that's very unfortunate. And I don't know where the lines are. I think that there's certain things that there are certain red lines probably, but I don't know what they are. And there are definitely a lot of beefs that I think we maybe should squash so that we could have like a bigger, more unified block. But because we're very far from that. And a lot of people keep asking me about this, like, "Oh, you guys should all join forces together." And of course, people have different ideas of who those forces should be. For some people, X person could never be allowed in. For another person, that person could be, but Y person couldn't be.
Right, right.
So there's that, and I do think that we need to, I don't know, we need to get creative because we are facing very serious challenges to society.
10 years or so ago, 12 years ago, I was running called the Afghanistan Study Group, and we had, I don't know how many members in it, but it was pretty big. And Grover Norquist was one of our members. It was a big tent. Grover Norquist from Americans for Tax Reform.
Yeah.
You know, the way we got Grover on to our program was we went to his office and we said, do you know how much money the war in Afghanistan is going to cost this year? He said, no. We said $120 billion, and he like fell out of his chair. You know, I mean, because I mean, even a guy like that had no idea what the war was costing at the time. And you say that to him and it gives the guy a heart attack. But, you know, what he would do, I don't know if he still does it or not, he would have like every Wednesday morning, this like breakfast meeting. You go to this thing and there'd be like 300 people there and they would get in line. They'd all have an opportunity to talk. They'd all have an opportunity to present. They'd all have an opportunity to speak their piece. And then they would all get in line and they would literally say things like, you may not agree, but we have a larger goal here and we have to accomplish that. And so we have to, I mean, like they would spell it out and people would follow that, you know, I mean, it is. And on the left, we have a circular firing squad.
Right.
The hope though, I mean, I think when you see something happen, like what happened with you, right? And we're having it here. I don't know how much of it's my paranoia, you know, as it said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't out to get you, right? But you hear this from other folks who've run independent campaigns, left campaigns, green campaigns. You know, I've had about 4 candidate forums that I was going to mysteriously canceled, right? You know, I mean, like it it doesn't make any sense. Like there's never a reason why other than I've had a few of them say circumstances beyond our control, which, you know, that's you know, but you have this over and over again. You have being shut out from the media. You have, you know, an unwillingness to have, we'd rather cancel the entire event than have an independent, you have the Green Party guy show up or the Libertarian guy show up or whatever. And so you experience it and you say, man, we are up against this edifice right? We are up
Yeah.
against these entities that are interconnected, that have not just relationships, but they're interdependent. All
Right.
these corporations are interdependent. There's a really good reason why the Hill doesn't, and I forget who the Hill is owned by.
Nexstar.
Nexstar. They're
Yes.
the ones who the original. Okay, I could get a whole thing about Nexstar, but anyway.
Yeah, no, and I really recommend this article that Branko Marcetic wrote. I'll put a link in it. He wrote it for Jacobin, and that goes over Nexstar. I can actually read part of it if you want.
Sure,
Just like a
yeah.
sentence. So they bought the Hill in last August for $130 million. And then in September, Sagot Value Holdings Limited, an investment firm based in Tel Aviv, bought 6,100 shares in Nexstar to the tune of more than $1 million. And in late August, Nexstar filled the position of deputy managing editor of News Nation, its cable channel, with Jake Novak, a journalist who spent the preceding year and a half as the media director of the Israeli Consulate General in New York. Novak has written approvingly of Donald Trump's dropping of U.S. support for the two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and has advocated for Israel to build more illegal settlements, saying, quote, it would bring more peace, prosperity, and freedom to both Israelis and Arabs, end quote. Six days before the announcement of his hiring, Novak led a presentation at Bar Ilan University titled Defending Israel Against Media Bias, How to Fight News Media and Social Media Bias Against Israel. The best defense is a good offense. And it's scary because Nexstar is incredibly powerful. It's the largest local broadcast TV owner in the country.
Nexstar has, I forget the number of local media stations that they have just in North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah. They have, I think they have a presence in every television market in North Carolina. So whatever, where they've got a local station everywhere, basically.
So the company now reaches nearly 40% of all U.S. television households, and it owns, operates, and provides services to 199 television stations and one AM radio station across Washington, D.C. and 39 states.
Yeah. It's,
and Low-Key, do you know Low-Key, the rapper?
Yeah, he's great.
I went on his show today, and I haven't even had time to digest them, but he did a deep dive into other people on the board of Nexstar, and they are very sketchy and even have, no surprise, connections to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, as a friend of mine says, the only thing you need to know to really understand American politics is that both the Clintons and the Trumps were good friends with Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's we had down here. So, and I know people probably want an update on this because the last one we did was before the debate. So there was one debate in North Carolina, Katie, between the U.S. Senate candidates, Ted Budd, the Republican, and Sherry Beasley, the Democrat. And both myself and the Libertarian were kept out. We're never really given an option to be a part of it. And we were given instead the option to take place, to have an interview on the hour before the debate. So in a pre-debate interview show, okay, you two losers can be in the consolation round here, basically. The thing about it, and then they do the interviews with us, and they don't even post the interviews on their website. I'm not kidding. They had a couple of college professors on who were talking through the whole hour, throwing out their tropes and their conventional wisdom and everything else, just, mediocrity in terms of analysis. And then they had these two college kids who were, and they posted those videos, but they refused to post the videos from the Green or the Libertarian candidate. And then the debate itself, this is what gets really scary about this. Is that we've seen the devolvement of corporate media conversation to just red versus blue. And the more emotional it is, the better it is for ratings, right? And that's what's driving the major media. But, in this case where you're supposed to have a debate between two U.S. Senate candidates, and with all going on in the world and our society, tremendously important stuff, what they do is they have the debate on a Friday night at 8:00 on a cable channel that less than a third of residents in North Carolina get. Now, it was open to everybody. If you went to the website, you could see it. Okay. But, but the estimates I heard from somebody was that, fewer than 2% of North Carolina voters watched the debate. So it's not only, there's the active suppression of information, but then there's also this kind of indirect suppression of information that goes along with the power structure, because they don't want to be asked tough questions. They don't have to explain themselves, and God forbid somebody says, hey, we give $6 billion a year to Israel. They just killed another 4 children the other day. Do you think we should do something about that? God forbid that question gets asked.